What's going on, everyone? It's your friendly neighborhood Gromit back again on the YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite record label labels. Now, I was going to call this video my favorite record labels, but I realized that some people might go onto the video expecting me to be talking about the Warner Brothers Music Group or some petty crap like that. But what I really mean is record label labels. These circular stickers that are in the middle of a vinyl record, now that is a record label. And here we have Love Buzzard by the Antihistamines. This is like a independent release on 1, 2, 3, 4 records. The Antihistamines are a decent Californian punk group that are out today, and this is a cool kind of record label design. As you can see, they use like the eye as like a way to create a record label here, and I think that's really cool. This is on green vinyl as well, translucent green vinyl. And yeah, this is a great example of modern record labels working. But we need, before we go on to my favorite record labels, we need to make 3 things clear, okay? Now, there is 3 things, all I need to say, that makes a record label good. Number 1, it has the name of the album on it. Number 2, it has the name of the artist on it. Number 3, it has the name of the tracks that are on the side on it. This has none of those. And this is the problem with modern record labels, is that I can understand that the times have changed and that, you know, the youth want to be entertained more thoroughly when they're looking at a record. But the record label is there for a reason. It's called a label. Look it up on Wikipedia. What is a label? And it will say a label is a sticker or a notation that describes what you are, something that you are looking at. So why is it that so many record labels today are just either pictures of the band, or like literally the worst one I've seen is Black Midi's Cavalcade, is literally a picture of the album cover on the record label. If I want to look at a picture of the album cover, I'll look at the album cover. I don't need to see the album cover rotating clockwise at 33 rotations per minute. Okay? Bring back the good old-fashioned record labels, you know, the ones where record labels were proud of the artists they had on the label. So it would say, this bloody record was made by this record label. This is who's on this record label. But we don't get that today. It's just all extra pieces of art. If you want to throw another piece of art in there, add a poster to the record, you know. Do that! Stop sodomizing the record labels. They're there for a reason, man. Anyways, now that I'm finished with that rant, I'm going to go on to another rant, and that is modern reissue record labels. Now, here is a copy of Kinda Kinks, bought at His Master's Voice, Nipper the Dog, 1921 to 2021. Now, the label they've put this on isn't by any means of the imagination bad. I mean, it's got the name of the artist, it's got the songs on there. These are BMG releases. It's not at all a recreation of the original. Ooh, it's falling on the ground. It's not at all a recreation of the original Pie label that these would have came on. But, you know, I can understand sometimes, you know, a label that's pressing old records today might not have the rights to be able to recreate the original album artwork, especially the label. But then things get a little fishy. This is the Village Green Preservation Society by the Kinks, BMG Records. Now, do you see where I have a bit of a problem now? This is a spot-on recreation of the Pie label. It even has pie on there. So, what are they doing? Why can you not just recreate the pie label if you can do it? This looks shit now. This is absolute... They could have just recreated what this looks like. Because they've done it here, but not there. What is going on? My God. Jesus Christ. Reissue someday. It really does my nut in. Does my nut in. Anyways, that is the end of my rant on modern record labels. Let's go on to some record labels that I love. Now, the first record label that I want to talk about is throughout the entire 60s. So we're not tackling just a single record label here. We're tackling a whole collection of record labels, really. And that's all the albums that were on EMI Records from 1963 to 1969. Now, this is a classic record label, especially if you're a Beatles fan. You remember these, these record labels are iconic. And they were done in, like, color coding. So, Parlophone Records was yellow. Columbia Records was on blue, as you can see there. And his master's voice was on red, I believe. The other ones, I'm not too sure about, Stateside and all that stuff, but they all kind of look the same. They're classic record labels, man. They do exactly what a record label's supposed to do. They got a nice black design. It doesn't necessarily look 60s. EMI do a lot of really good reissues these days where they pretty much copy word to word, even the sold in UK text for the recent Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, Piper at the Gates of Dawn reissue. They're just great record labels, They have the name of the label in big at the top, got the album name, they got the artist name, and they got the tracks. And it works. It's a brilliant label. They went on to the 1-box and 2-box EMI, but they're pretty much the same after this. And they're okay as well. I guess that they're not too bad, but I mean, the 63 to 69... Beautiful record label. Now, going on to the Island label, which is another one of my favourite record labels. We are going to look at the Pink Island label. Now, there are two variations of the Pink Island label. Here is an example of a reissue done right. This is Spooky Tooth. It's all about Spooky Tooth's debut album. And this has the original iteration of the Island logo on the Pink Island logo, and that's the one that has Island at the bottom here. This is a great label. Pink isn't just for girls, guys. Pink is a man's colour. It shows strength to be a man and love pink. And this label is beautiful. It's absolutely sensational. But I do, if we have to be honest, I do prefer the Big Eye. Now, what's the Big Eye? It's this. It's this record label, the beautiful Pink Eye. This is a great record label. It's just a nice, lovely, light pink colour. What I love to see in my record labels is, a light colour, one that shines. You can turn off the light and see it in the dark. And Island had its spot on here. I do like when they do move to actually like the eye. I'll see if I have one here actually that I can pull out and show as an example. When they move to, like the straight up Island label as well. But the Pink Island labels are definitely the better of them all. And this is In the Wake of Poseidon by King Crimson, original UK pressing of this. Beautiful Pink Island label. Songs, the artists on Island when they were on the Pink label as well are great. You got King Crimson, you got Spooky Tooth as I've just shown. You've got Free on there as well. Pink Island label. It's a record label done right. So that's one of my favourites. I don't know how many different ones I've got here. Here's one. Everyone knows I love this record label. It's the Plum Atlantic label. Now, I saw this record label on a ugliest record labels like ever tier list. What are they on about? The Plum label is classic, man. It's just an example of colours working well together. And in here we see it is the Atlantic in the middle. Always love that. The logo there as well. This is a copy of Lord Sutch and his Heavy Friends. Screaming Lord Sutch went on to create the Raven Looney Mad Party. But he was also a brilliant kind of out-of-the-box avant-garde singer and songwriter. And on this album we have artists like Jimmy Page, John Bonham, Jeff Beck, Nicky Hopkins. And the music on here is brilliant. But anyways, on about the label. These labels were excellent. They lasted from 67 up to 71. Then they went to the Green Atlantic label, which was already being used in the US all the way back since 1969. But in the UK, these Plum labels, beautiful, man. I do love these Plum labels, and if anyone knows me, they know just how much I love these Plum labels. The Plum labels, man, the Plum labels. So yeah, that's one of my favourite record labels. Here's a copy of Deep Purple and Rock, and this has the original inner sleeve, I believe, with it. And we're going to be talking now, yep, there it is, Harvest, beautiful record sleeve. We're going to be talking now a bit about the Harvest record label. Again, it's a light green colour. I love when record labels are light. It does everything that a record label needs to do. It's got a big logo, it's got the Harvest there, it's got the name of the album, the songs on the album, the side. You know, this is great example of a record label. The prog kind of, the labels out of the early 70s that dealt in prog and stuff like that were hugely nice. All of Duram, which ain't in here today. Intermediate, the famous Charisma label, Harvest, and another one we'll get onto in a second. But Harvest definitely deserves to go on this list for my favourite record labels. When you put like a copy of Pink Floyd Metal on the turntable, and you've had like a couple of drags off a spliff or something, and you sat there just listening to it. Oh, just looking at that label go round and round, it's beautiful, man. The Harvest label is one of my favourite record labels. Now, we go for one which not a lot of people talk about, but I definitely do all the time. Mainly because this label, actually there was some good music on this label other than these two groups. But it's the two groups I have the most of on this label. This is a copy of Wishbone Ash's first album. And look at that. This is the MCA label from 1970. And this is absolutely stunning. Red in pink works so well together. Maybe the only criticism I have is that the writing is like silver, which means, especially on a camera like this, it doesn't pick up so well. But I mean, this is a beautiful record label and one that no one talks about these days. This is on the turntable. It just looks fantastic. And Wishbone Ash as well, which I pulled out here. One of the most underrated bands of all time. They're really up there with like Yes and Pink Floyd when it comes to like progressive rock. Argus, one of the best albums of all time. This is their debut album. It's on this beautiful pink and red MCA label. This is a record label, guys. And carrying on, here's a copy of Budgie Squawk, which is also on the MCA label. And MCA, when they changed from the red and pink label, they went on to a blue and black one, which looks equally as beautiful. You know, MCA were really hitting it out the park with their record labels in the early 70s. And again, I don't need to really reiterate what I said before, that this does everything that a record label needs to do. It's got the name of the band, it's got the songs, it's got what, if it's in stereo or mono, it's got what sides it's on. You know, this is a classic record label, guys. It's one of the most underrated ones here for sure. And now we go on to what is my favourite record label. I wasn't going to call this a top 10 or a top whatever, but this is my favourite record label of all time. It really shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone what it is. It's the Swirl, the pinnacle of record label designs. Now I can hear someone in the distance saying, "Oh, but I thought you said that all record labels had to have the name of the artist and the songs on it. That's just a picture of a swirl." Well, it does have the name of the artist and the songs, and it even specifies that the swirl side is side A on the top and tells you what tracks are on side A on the other side. This is beautiful. When this is playing, when you have a swirl on the turntable, not only do you know that there is going to be good music contained within those grooves because it's a vertical swirl, but you are just getting hypnotized into the swirl itself when it's playing on the turntable. It gives that effect. You know, Philips, who were the Vertigo was like the Philips prog label in the early 70s. Whoever designed this was just on another level of existence, you know. The Vertigo swirl, not much needs to be said about it. It's just probably the most recognizable record label of all time. This is the first Vertigo swirl ever put out. It's Colosseum Valentine Suite, Vertigo number 1. But even after the swirl, and they went on to the Spaceship is a cool label too. There's the Spaceship, you know. Vertigo, possibly the best label of all time, not just for the music, but for the labels as well. So there we go, guys. That is just a look at some of my favourite record labels. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know what I want to do in the next couple of weeks. I want to maybe do a new collection video, maybe get out there and film some more of me looking around in different record shops and stuff like that. But just thought I'd have a little rant about the modern record labels at the start, but then show off some of the best record labels that have ever been made. So thank you very much. This has been my favourite record labels, and I'll see you in the next one.